Hi guys, this is Tina. Welcome back to my channel. So here, just playing around, thought we'd make some of these little tickets. Basically kind of going alongside using up some of our more unusable papers that we have in our stash. I thought that these were the perfect project to actually use some of those papers that, you know, previously we maybe haven't really kind of felt that we can use. So if I move these to one side, I'm going to show you the bits that I'm going to be using. I have got these fabulous stickers from, sorry, not stickers, stamps from Crafty Individuals. I've talked about Crafty Individuals before. I love their stamps. They're absolutely gorgeous designs. I will just point out, these come unmounted. Can you see that? They are just literally the rubber, you know, impression basically. So when you get these, you have to mount them yourself. Now, that being said, I mean, I think their stamps are pretty good value, you know, for such beautiful, intricate designs. That's probably why, you know, because they're not obviously, you know, mounted. So when I have bought these, I've sometimes mounted them onto foam to be able to use. But another thing that you can do is you can take your, you know, clear stamp block. You'll have to excuse mine, it's pretty dirty. And then you can just literally dot a little bit of, you know, I use just my regular tacky glue onto the back of the stamp. Hopefully you can kind of see there where the glue's spread out. And that just kind of adheres it to that block on a temporary basis. Obviously, once you've finished stamping, you can then peel that off and obviously wash the glue off of your, you know, clear block. So that's another way to use them. You know, that's quite a quick method. And obviously it's quite convenient. You don't have to buy the foam, so no kind of further expenses incurred and things like that. So that's the method that I'm going to use today. This particular set that I'm using, oh, I can't see a name of these. Right, I can't see a name, but they do say down here CI and then a dash and then 239. Whether that's a code, I don't really know. But I mean, if you went to their website, which is Crafty Individuals, typed in postmarks or tickets, something like that, I'm pretty sure that they would come up. So these are the stamps that I'm using. They're just gorgeous, aren't they? And I've taken the stamp, if you happen to buy these and wanted to do the exact same as me, I've used this one, the one that's kind of in the corner bottom right, and it's got like number 3029 at either end of the stamp. So that's the best way that I can describe kind of what I'm using. So as you can see, I've taken a couple of sheets of paper that I would previously consider, you know, not that brilliant for use in junk journals. Obviously, I've got this one here, which is, you know, it was a bright orange. I have now coffee dyed this, so it becomes a bit more, you know, user friendly. And the other one is this 12 by 12 sheet, which is absolutely awesome for scrapbooking, you know, perfect for lovely, sleepy, mellow, you know, pictures, or, you know, yeah, pictures really. But obviously not great for the vintage kind of junk journals that we kind of do now, or, you know, that I'm doing these days. So I thought that I would just use up a couple of these, well, probably not whole sheets, but start to use up a couple of these sheets. So what I'm going to do to make this slightly more manageable in size, I'm just going to trim this down like this, so it's not hanging off of my desk space, and so that hopefully the whole piece of paper is in frame. Now what I've done, when I kind of blobbed my glue on and stuck this onto my, you know, acrylic block, I've lined it up with the grid lines. Now, I'm pretty rubbish with measuring and all that kind of jazz, so this is, you know, this is not great for me. And I'm not great when it comes to doing precision work, as you know. So I'm taking my black stays on, and then what I'm going to do is stamp starting over at the left. So if I show you, I'm just going to start here, and then what I'm going to endeavour to do is just stamp my stamp, excuse my head, next to, can you see, I mean, already I've mucked that up, so I'm pretty rubbish, to be honest, when it comes to doing anything that's, I mean, look at that one, anything that's you know, requires lining up or precision, that's just not my thing. So there we go. I mean, I have got better as the line's gone on, to be fair. So I'll do another row beneath it. I'll try and be a bit better, she says. Obviously, I doubt I will be, but I mean, literally, I've lined them up to the grid lines so that I know roughly where to space, you know, where to space it along, really. It's just a rough guide for me. So that's my ones on the cloud paper. Let me get this orange paper now, and I'll just do, you know, a quick row here, and again there. Oh my gosh, can you see how off that is? Just awful, awful, awful. Let me do another row and see whether I can get it a bit better. I mean, obviously this isn't helping because I'm trying not to put my head right over the stamp, so I actually can't really see where my grid line is. Obviously my head is in the video, but I didn't want to cover it up completely, so. Right, the bottom row, or you know, the second row is slightly better, but it's fine. They will be fine. Nobody's going to be kind of, you know, sending out the ticket police to make sure that I've made accurate tickets. So what I'm going to do is cut along the bottom edge of the tickets. Now, because I have made such an appalling job of stamping them, I'm going to just cut in more or less, if you see what I mean. So long as I'm getting the line more or less straight, you know, I'm not too worried if I cut off a little bit of the ticket, or if one ticket has more showing than the other. I mean, I don't really mind, because I don't honestly think anyone's going to be looking that closely to the tickets, if you see what I mean. So I will cut the edges off where I've just got a little bit of an overhang. And this one actually has got the perforated bit from the, you know, the paper. So I just tear that off as well, which is awesome because it looks like the perforated edge. And while we're talking about the perforated edge, I saw an absolutely awesome trick the other day. And I think it was Junk Journal Ideas, but again, I would have to check through my history and just see whether it was. I mean, she was actually doing like faux stamps, but as I was doing this, I thought, oh, that trick would be awesome for this project. She just got one of those sellotape dispensers, you know, the, like, you know, the sellotape dispenser. And she kind of just put the edge of her thing onto that jaggedy teeth edge thing and tore it off. I mean, this is obviously thickish, so I'm not sure how brilliantly it would work on this, but any thin paper, it would be incredibly awesome. So yeah, check out that. It's just brilliant. I haven't got one of those dispensers, but I'm going to keep my eye out now for one because I think it would be very cool. Right, so what I'm going to do, because I've cut the edge off of these, I'm just going to take my black StazOn and just go right the way down, like the edge of my tickets. And that way, where they're, you know, misaligned and what have you, it will cover that up. So that's no longer particularly noticeable. I'm not saying you can't notice it. I'm saying, you know, at a rough glance, you wouldn't really be that aware of it. You know, nobody's going to be studying them that hard, I'm sure. So then what I'm going to do is I would distress these. These ones, obviously, as you can see, they don't particularly need distressing. You have to excuse my filthy hands, by the way. I have already obviously been doing some of these earlier before the video to make sure they were okay. These don't need distressing because they have been, you know, coffee dyed. But I will just kind of show you. I mean, it's not really showing up on these ones, to be perfectly honest. So I won't bother distressing these. But what I'm going to do is obviously fold them down, and I'll start at the one that's a complete ticket rather than the one that's, you know, kind of a little bit of a ticket. And then again, what you can do is you can just blacken, you know, the join, if you see what I mean. Then you're going to bend the next one in like that, you know, just like they would be if they were real tickets. And that one. So again, take your stays on. You know, you don't have to use stays on. You could use any black ink. I mean, I just always use stays on. I love it. I know that, you know, not everybody does, but personally, I just find it the most brilliant ink. So again, do the same with this one. Just fold it down over all the folds. Oops. And then just again ink up, you know, on those kind of crease lines. Again, I mean, you don't really have to do that. I just think it makes it more prominent. Oops. Where the tickets, you know, are. So that's that. And then all you're going to do is, if you've got a crocodile, if you haven't, then you may have a hole punch or something, you know, but whatever you've got, or you could always use just your scissors to snip little corners. So again, you can probably do these in like bulk folds, if that makes sense. So I folded that over twice, and then I'm just going to take my crocodile. Let me just shake the bits out so that I can actually see through the hole a bit. And all I want to do is make a little tiny corner. You know, I'm certainly not punching a hole in that, you know, but a full hole, I mean. I'm just taking literally the corners off. And then you want to do it with your end one. I mean, depending on how many tickets you've got will depend on, you know, how many times you have to do this, like, i.e. the folds. You know, or if your tickets aren't that brilliantly meeting, you may have to do it separately, like each fold. But I mean, that's fine. It doesn't really take too long. You know, it's a little bit fiddly, but probably less fiddly for most people than for me, because I'm a little bit cack-handed with my ways. But how awesome do they look? I just love them. So that's my first one. So if I just pop them out of the way, I won't bore you obviously with doing the same colour ones, because, you know, that's just really boring for you all. So we'll just do these ones to show, you know, the different colours, I guess, and, you know, how they will look in the different ones. So these, obviously, I have really mucked up the alignment. So I'm just going to cut along roughly straight-ish. And then hopefully you'll be able to see how kind of, how forgiving these can be, you know, and how you can cover up if like me, you've done this. You probably won't have done, because you probably have all measured and done it more sensibly than me. I can't stand measuring, and, you know, this is just a point in case, is because whenever precision is required, I just make a horrible mess of it. So for me, you know, anything that's kind of got to be exactly the same, that's just not going to happen. You know, I kind of did it the best I could, lining the stamp up to the grid lines. Even then, I still couldn't do it. So yeah, I don't know what that is about, but it's just, that's just me. So, you know, but I mean, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I don't think they look too bad. I have cut off the code somewhere. Yes, that code up there has been snipped off of the first ticket, and presumably the bottom bit has been chopped off of the bottom one. But you can't tell that, because nobody's going to pull these out of your journal and study, is that ticket the same as that? When you glance, it does look the same. So, you know, I just think don't don't beat yourself up. I'm just going to do that because that wasn't very straight. Okay, right, take your ink, and obviously these ones are not coffee dyed, so for me these do need ink in. And of course you could use different coloured inks. You know, I'm just using the vintage photo, but you could get creative here. You could get, you know, playful and use other coloured inks, and they would look absolutely awesome, you know. I mean, I thought actually the wild honey would be brilliant. Unfortunately, it's obviously buried somewhere on my desk and I couldn't locate it, so didn't want to waste ages looking for it. My inks are piled up on my shelf, and I have actually started tidying up a little bit. Well, I mean, not so anyone would notice, obviously, but yeah, I couldn't find it anyway. So I thought, well, the vintage photos are fine. It will do the trick. You know, we're just demonstrating here how to make them. So like that, come along. Okay, so obviously this was a 12 by 12 sheet. The other one was an 8 by 8. So obviously I have a lot more tickets here. I'm going to chop the end off of here because it wasn't right to the edge of the page. And then again, I'm just going to start folding in my ticket line. There we go. In there. You know, just like a concertina fold. Like that. Okay. Okay. So press them down, and then again, now because obviously I've got a few here, I can just kind of do them together with the black stays on, if that makes sense. Like that, rather than having to kind of refold them. Now I'm just going to squash those together like that and try and just punch my corners through all of them at once. Oops. Would probably be better if I didn't drop it on the stays on. And then just going to chop that corner like that. Okay, and then I'm going to bend them in the other way so that I can ink up with the black those other edges that I didn't manage to get to. Oh, I'm getting really messy. Who'd have thought you could get so messy with such a simple project? It's because they're small, you know, my hands are like all over them, all over the ink. And then again, I'm just going to do my, oops, little corner there of the starting ticket. I don't need to worry about the end one because obviously it's overhanging the page, you know, it wasn't a full ticket. And that's your little row of tickets. Don't they look so cute? And to be fair, who would have thought that that was from that cloud paper? Because nowhere can you see any clouds. Completely and utterly disguised. You know, gone from that, or, you know, that, to that. So again, another kind of brilliant way of just kind of using up some of your papers that, you know, were previously possibly a little bit unusable, or, you know, papers that you wouldn't be likely to use with your journals. So I hope that you like them, and, you know, have fun if you decide to do some. I also thought that these would look incredible on paper bag paper. You know, the brown craft paper bag type bags. that took a long time of describing what I meant, didn't it? I'm not quite sure what happened there. Yeah, the brown paper bags. Let me see whether I have got any laying about that I can kind of demonstrate. Hold on 2 seconds. I have got some brown paper bags. I don't know whether I've got any really locatable. Hold on a tick. Oh, just searching under my desk. See what I've got under there. Oops. Right. So I've got this one here. I mean, obviously this is not really ideal because it's, you know, it's quite small and things. But I mean, if I went, for instance, down the middle, which seems very extravagant use of this paper bag, to be perfectly honest. Let me see whether I've got any other paper bag that I've partially used, because I know it's only junk, but it seems excessive, doesn't it, to just use that. Right, that's better. I have a paper bag that I have partially used here. Much better. So let me just cut off a chunk of that. So that's better. I just didn't want to waste this whole paper bag. I mean, ridiculous, isn't it? It's not like I'm short of supplies or paper or anything else, but you know, didn't want to waste it. So right, now I'm going to just cut this here so that it's a bit more manageable and get that seam off, you know, where it's glued together, kind of there. So let me move that out of the way. And then I think I've got the same going on here. Oh no, I haven't. No, I haven't. Okay, so if I move that out of the way, again, I'm just going to trim this down a bit because otherwise I've got the handle like sticking out, so then I won't be able to get close enough to be able to do it. There we go. Okay, so I'll take my stamp. I'm now standing up for some reason, so maybe I will make a better job, or maybe it will be even worse, who knows. Right, so decide which side you're going to use. I'm going to use this side, which was like the outside of the paper bag, so it's got a bit more of a sort of sheen. It's not sheeny, but just slightly more. Oh my gosh, look at that. Just horrendous stamping. Not straight at all, even though I'm standing up and, you know, looking directly down on it. Still appalling. Appalling, appalling. Right, let's do that. Okay, so other than the fact that they are hideously misaligned, so what I might do is ink these a little bit here, because this is quite flimsy paper, so it would just be easier, I think, to ink it before I cut it down. So I mean, as you can see, the ink isn't really adding an awful lot because it's obviously that brown paper bag anyway, but you know, it possibly adds a little bit. So there we go. Right, I'm going to now cut down, and again I'm just going to trim down the whole length of the tickets like that, and then I would just trim down this side like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim off the end of this initial ticket because that's a complete, you know, complete ticket, like that. Now obviously these are nice because they're nice and thin, so they're very easy to fold. I'm not going to ink the back of them because, as I say, I mean, it is quite flimsy to work with and I'm very clumsy, so I'm likely to just tear them. But I will just go down the edges with my black stays on, because that just gives us our, you know, ticket shapes kind of outlined again, where obviously I've kind of cut it off. So we just go down like that. Okay, and then go back along the other side. You know, and I mean, I'm really not worried if I've got like here where the bag has kind of like, you know, folded in, and so I've got more black. I mean, I don't really care because, to be honest, I mean, sometimes, you know, can you see there? Sometimes that type of thing happens with the print machines. You know, they kind of leak a bit of extra print or ink in places. So, you know, for me, that all just adds to the authentic look of them. You know, I think they look really good like that. So then, again, you can just bend them over or fold them over at the folds or at the creases. So like that, and over, go over that one. Oops. Wait, hold on. Oh, not making a very good job of the folding now. Again, another how not to do it. I mean, you know, hopefully my videos just give you the basic ideas of, you know, suggestions of things to do, not necessarily the methods of, you know, how to do. So I just ink up the edges of the tickets, and then again I'll just fold them in the other way so that I can get to those inner edges, and again just ink those up. I mean, again, you don't have to do this. I just quite like them having a bit more definition in between the tickets, which obviously if you don't do that, you just don't have that. But it's not a kind of, you know, it's not a necessary step necessarily. Oh. Right, so again I'm going to fold them in the concertina, just so that I can now snip my corners. So one, I mean, obviously this isn't perfectly aligned, so, you know, some of my corners might be kind of bigger than others, but again, I mean, you know, that's fine. Nobody's going to be kind of looking at the tickets, kind of, you know, checking what size that the corners all are. So, you know, it's just for speed really that I'm doing this, because you know, otherwise it would be quite faffy to do each individual corner. But I mean, obviously, if things like, let me just get that corner out. If things like, you know, some of the corners being bigger than others would bother you, then of course do them individually. Oops. Come on. Like that. And then I'll just go to my first ticket. Again, I don't need to do it with my last one, because my last ticket, you know, it wasn't the complete ticket, if you see what I mean, because I ran out of paper. So that's how they look on the brown paper bag. You know, I just thought that they would look really, really cool on a brown paper bag. So I, you know, just wanted to kind of show you how they looked. But, and the other thing is with the brown paper bag, obviously, it's great because it's very flimsy, so it folds down really nice and thin, like that. So I hope that you like them, and you know, if you give them a go, I hope that you enjoy making them. And yeah, I mean, just a fun little project. Again, probably quite a TV type project that you could do. And yeah, hope that you have fun making some. And thanks very much for stopping by. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks then. Bye.